Hello, I am Jay, and this is Relax with Jay. I create calming videos that allow you to relax and or drift off to sleep. If you enjoy my videos and find them helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe, and click on the notification bell. I hope you enjoy this video and may it bring you restful sleep. Tonight, I'll be reading the 7th and 8th letter of the book called Love and Friendship by Jane Austen. If you enjoy these chapters and would like me to read more, please let me know. Letter 7th, Laura to Marina. We remained but a few days after our marriage in the Vale of Usker. After taking an affecting farewell of my father, my mother, and my Isabel, I accompanied Edward to his aunt's in Middlesex. Philippa received us both with every expression of affectionate love. My arrival was indeed a most agreeable surprise to her, as she had not only been totally ignorant of my marriage with her nephew, but had never even had the slightest idea of there being such a person in the world. Augusta, the sister of Edward, was on a visit to her when we arrived. I found her exactly what her brother had described her to be, of the middle size. She received me with equal surprise, though not with equal cordiality. As Philippa, there was a disagreeable coldness and forbidding reserve in her reception of me, which was equally distressing and unexpected. None of that interesting sensibility or amicable sympathy in her manners and address to me when we first met, which should be distinguished our introduction to each other. Her language was neither warm nor affectionate. Her expression of regard were neither animated nor cordial. Her arms were not open to receive me to her heart, though my own were extended to press her to mine. A short conversation between Augusta and her brother, which I accidentally overheard, and ceased by my disliking to her, and convinced me that her heart was no more formed from the soft ties of love than of the enduring intercourse of friendship. But do you think that my father will ever be reconciled to this imprudent connection? Said Augusta. Augusta, replied the noble youth, I thought you had a better opinion of me than to imagine I would be so objectively degrade myself as to consider my father's concurrence in any of my affairs, either of consequence or concern to me. Tell me, Augusta, with sincerity, did you ever know my consult in inclination or follow his advice in the least trifling particular since the age of 15? Edward, replied she, you're surely too different in your own praise. Since you were 15 only, my dear brother, since you were 5 years only, I entirely acquit you of without apprehension of your own being shortly obliged to degrade yourself in your own eyes by seeking a support of your wife in the generosity of Sir Edward. Never, never, Augusta, will I so demean myself, said Edward. Support what support will Laura want which she can receive from him? Only those very insignificant ones of vesicle and drink, answered she. Vesicle and drink, replied my husband in a most noble, contemptuous manner. And dost thou then imagine that there's no further support for an excellent mind, such as my Laura's, than the mean and indelicate employments of eating and drinking? None that I know of so effectuous, returned Augusta. And did you ever feel the pleasing pangs of love, Augusta? Replied my Edward. Does it appear impossible to your veiled and corrupted palate to exist on love? Can you not conceive the luxury of living in every distress that poverty can inflict with the object of your tenderest affection? You are too ridiculous, said Augusta, to argue with. Perhaps, however, may you in time be convinced that. Here I was prevented from hearing the remainder of her speech by the appearance of a very handsome young woman, who was ushered into the room at the door with which I had been listening. On hearing her announced by the name of Lady Dorothea, I instantly quitted my post and followed her into the parlor, for I well remembered that she was the lady proposed as a wife for my Edward by the cruel and unrelenting baronet. Although Lady Dorothea's visit was normally to Philippa and Augusta, yet I have some reason to imagine that, acquainted with the marriage and arrival of Edward, to see me was a principal motive to it. I soon perceived that though lovely and elegant in her person, and though easy and polite in her dress, she was one of that inferior order of beings with regard to delicate feeling, tender sentiments, and refined sensibility, of which Augusta was one. She stayed but half an hour, and neither in the course of her visit confided to me any of her secret thoughts, nor requested me to find her in her, or mine. You will easily imagine, therefore, my dear Marina, that I could not feel any adorned affection or very sincere attachment to Lady Dorothea. Adieu, Laura. Letter 8. Laura to Marina, in continuation. Lady Dorothea had not left us long before another visitor, as unexpected a one as her ladyship, was announced. It was Sir Edward, who, informed by Augusta of her brother's marriage, came doubtless to reproach him for having dared to unite himself to me without his knowledge. But Edward, foreseeing his design, approached him with a heroic fortitude as soon as he entered the room, and addressed him in the following manner. Sir Edward, I know the motive of your journey here. You came with the base design of reproaching me for having entered into an suitable engagement with my Laura without your consent. But, sir, I glory in the act. It is my greatest boast that I have incurred the displeasure of my father. So saying, he took my hand, and while Sir William, Edward, Philippa, and Augusta were doubtless reflecting with admiration on his undaunted bravery, led me from the parlor to his father's carriage, which yet remained at the door, and in which were instantly conveyed from the pursuit of Sir Edward. The postilion had at first received orders only to take the London road. As soon as we had sufficiently reflected, however, we ordered them to drive to M, the seat of Edward's most particular friend, which was but a few miles distant. At M, we arrived in a few hours, and on sending in our names, we immediately admitted to Sophia, the wife of Edward's friend. After having been deprived during the course of 3 weeks of a real friend, for such I term your mother, imagine my transport at beholding one, most truly worthy of the name. Sophia was rather above the middle size, most elegantly formed. A soft languor spread above her lovely features, but increased their beauty. It was the characteristic of her mind. She was all sensibility and feeling. We flew into each other's arms, and after having exchanged vows of mutual friendship for the rest of our lives, instantly unfolded to each other the most inward secrets of our hearts. We were interrupted in the delightful employment by the entrance of Augustus, Edward's friend, who was just returned from a solitary ramble. Never did I such an affecting scene as was the meeting of Edward and Augustus. My life, my soul, exclaimed the former. My adorable angel, replied the latter, as they flew into each other's arms. It was too pathetic for the feelings of Sophia and myself. We fainted alternately on a sofa. Adieu, Laura.